So today I want to talk to y'all about Matt Cassel. Most people know this guy as the guy who replaced Tom Brady for the 2008 season after Brady got injured. But there's so much more to his career than that, and I will go over that today. And it all starts with part 1, unusual college days and initial success. September 7th, 2008. Chiefs at Patriots. The Patriots are coming off their 2007 season where they went 16-0 but lost in the Super Bowl. The Patriots at the beginning of this play are Super Bowl hopefuls. But all that changed when Bernard Pollard made this hit on Tom Brady that tore his ACL. And in comes the greatest perennial backup of all time, Matt Cassel. So, who is this guy? How did he get here? Well, Matt Cassel was drafted, albeit in the 7th round, but he still must have had a good college career, right? Well, let's take a look at his college days and see how he performed there. Wow, he played at USC in the early thousands, and those teams were amazing. Wait, how did he not have any touchdowns or ever even start in a college game and get drafted? At the time of his selection, there were plenty of other more accomplished quarterbacks, with Timmy Chang, who had pretty great stats at Hawaii, and even 2003 Heisman Trophy winner Jason White. What did the Patriots see in him? So, in order for me to talk more about Matt Cassel, I need to talk about the guy who was the starting quarterback at USC, Matt Leinart. Well, Matt Leinart is one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. He was the starting quarterback on the 2003 National Championship team and the 2004 National Championship team, and won the 2004 Heisman Trophy, and was in the discussion to win the award every year he played. The Combine is also an important part of getting drafted. These are basically ways to see how fast, strong, or athletic a person is to NFL scouts. There's the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, the broad jump, the 3-cone drill, and lastly, the 20-yard shuttle. So there is another thing that many NFL teams look into when making draft selections, and that is the Combine. So he must have had a phenomenal Combine, right? Well, Matt Cassel wasn't invited to the Combine, but I've included his USC Pro Day stats here and compared them to other quarterbacks in his draft class. Well, he ran a 4.88 40, and that is a bit slower than average among quarterbacks. He finished 4th in the vertical jump with 34 inches, which is pretty good compared to the other quarterbacks. His broad jump was also good, with him placing in 3rd, middle of the pack for the 3-cone drill, and surprisingly he finished 2nd in the 20-yard shuttle. He overall had a fine Combine, but this does not explain why he got drafted. So, why did he? Well, there's another thing that quarterbacks do at the Combine where they actually throw the ball. I could not find Matt Cassel's Pro Day throwing video, but I did find a quote from Pete Carroll, who was the USC head coach at the time and current Seattle Seahawks coach. Here's what he had to say.
There was a day we had to decide between Matt Leinart and Matt Cassel in spring practice. It was coming from the spring game. I'm sitting there trying to figure out which way to go. Both guys hadn't done very well in spring. It wasn't obvious in any direction, so we go ahead with Leinart. Leinart says, "You'll never regret." Cassel was pissed. I don't blame him. What happened after that was that Matt Leinart won a lot of games, and Matt Cassel never really got a chance. There was a day that came up and he finally did get his chance, and it's worth telling you. It was on timing day, a pro day at the school. All the workouts were done and Matt hadn't thrown yet, and he was going to stage a throwing session and show the scouts what he could do. Fortunately, about half the representatives from the team stayed. Matt put together a workout that was perfect. He hit everything, ripped the ball all around the field. Every guy caught every pass, timing, rhythm, arm strength, energy through it, and when the last throw was made, it's like the guys just swarmed him. All the guys just surrounded him and wanted to get his name and phone number and all that. Most guys hadn't even thought about anything was going to happen with this guy. Matt was fortunate that they stayed, as a matter of fact. His family was over on the side. His mom, she was crying. Because she could see after all these years of fighting, struggling, playing tight end, pitching on the baseball team, and all the things Matt did to find some fun in his college career, he had his moment, and he totally came through. The rest is getting drafted in the 7th round by New England is history. It's a marvelous statement about the kid, about who he is, never giving up and being a tough competitor and all that. So for us to be going head to head is something. That's really an exciting thought for me to see him. I couldn't be more fired up for him, and anxious to go ahead and play against him.
So now we're back here. This is Matt Castle's first drive. In order to talk about this drive, I need to first talk about the situation he is in. After driving a bit down the field, the Chiefs failed to convert on 3rd down, so they send out their punter, Dustin Colquitt, who was actually in the same draft class as Castle, but he was picked in the 3rd round, while Castle was picked in the 7th. Ball is kicked to around the 8, but has a good bounce. Chiefs down it at the New England 2. This is an awful situation for any quarterback, but this is Matt Castle. Most people in this moment would assume failure is inevitable. But Bill Belichick is your coach. He'll probably give you some easy passes to calm your nerves, right? So let's see what happens. 1st down run for loss. 2nd down run for no gain. Now it's 3rd and 11 from your own 1. Chiefs call a timeout, and even the announcer says,
I don't believe Matt Castle's going to air it up from the end zone.
Wanna guess what happens?
Kansas City, the best 3rd down defense in the NFL last year. Castle going to throw it. And he hits his man Randy Moss. Moss to midfield into Kansas City territory for a 1st down.
And there's the biggest pass of Matt Castle's professional career.
A 51-yard bomb to Randy Moss is what happens. Skeptics will say Randy Moss deserves the most credit here for getting that open, but that pass was a dime. He caught it in nearly full stride. Well, let's see how he finishes his first drive. Sammy Morris, 9-yard run. Short pass to Kelly Washington for 3 yards and a 1st down. Short pass to Sammy Morris for 2 yards. Sammy Morris, 22-yard run up the middle for a 1st down. Short pass to Sammy Morris for 7 yards. False start by David Thomas. Castle's first incompletion intended for David Thomas. And to end it all, Matt Castle threw another perfect pass to Randy Moss for 10 yards and a touchdown. Matt Castle's first real NFL drive was 98 yards, where he threw 78 yards and a touchdown with 5 completions and only 1 incompletion. And that drive wasn't a fluke. He finished the game throwing 13 completions and only 5 incompletions. He had a quarterback rating of 116, which is pretty great for a quarterback who, as far as I can tell, hasn't started since high school. Quarterback rating is a pretty complex stat, but it essentially boils down to a stat that combines completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdowns per attempt, and interceptions per attempt. To break down the stat, it's essentially a measure of efficiency for a quarterback. The Patriots ended up beating the Chiefs in their meeting 17-10. So now let's talk about how he played for the remainder of the season. Well, through 15 games, the Pats were 9-5, and this is how the playoff picture looked. The Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins were all 9-5, so the conference was very much up for grabs. Their Week 16 matchup against the 8-6 Arizona Cardinals would surely be a tough one. The Cardinals' starting quarterback was Kurt Warner, a future Hall of Famer, but he was 37 at the time and on his farewell tour. The Cardinals actually drafted a quarterback in the 1st round of the 2006 draft who they'd hoped would succeed Warner after he retired. That quarterback's name was Matt Leinart. Patriots didn't just win this game, they dominated it. The Cardinals were so outplayed, they actually sent in Matt Leinart to replace Kurt Warner in the third quarter. I'm not sure if Matt Castle meant to absolutely dominate the Cardinals, but he definitely sent the message to all those watching, especially Pete Carroll, that you made the wrong decision when choosing a starter, and I was the best quarterback at USC. The Patriots ended up winning their Week 17 matchup against the Bills, but actually missed the playoffs, even though 98% of 11-5 teams do make the playoffs. And that brings us to part 2, the lowest lows and the highest highs. So after an overall successful season in New England, the Patriots shipped him along with linebacker Mike Vrabel to the Chiefs for the 34th pick in the draft. The Chiefs were hoping they had found their franchise quarterback, so let's see how he did in comparison to other quarterbacks that played in 2009. So this is then ordered by quarterback rating in 2009, and yeah, he finished 25th in the league. But what this doesn't tell you is that in addition to his 16 interceptions, he also had 14 fumbles. And if you combined interceptions and fumbles into a single turnover stat, Matt Castle had tied for the second most turnovers only behind Jay Cutler, who had 35. But Cutler also had 27 touchdowns, which was much more than Castle did. I don't know why any team would let Castle compete for the starting job after that season, but the Chiefs decided to let Castle and Brody Croyle compete for the starting job. But the Chiefs did have a new offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss, and he was the offensive coordinator on the Patriots teams that won the 3 Super Bowls in the early thousands. So, how did he do? Castle proved all those who doubted him wrong by finishing 8th in quarterback rating and even making the Pro Bowl that year. Many credit Charlie Weiss with a remarkable improvement, but after that season he left Kansas City to be the offensive coordinator at the University of Florida, and now we move on to part 3. Injuries, journeys, and the worst throw of all time. Nothing was the same after the 2010 season. Castle had 2 more years where he played for the Chiefs, but they were riddled with injuries, and in his last season he threw double the amount of interceptions than touchdowns. After these 2 rather poor seasons, the Chiefs released Castle on March 14, 2013. Castle was then subsequently picked up by the Vikings. He was expected to compete with 2011 first-round pick Christian Ponder for the starting quarterback job. The Vikings were a disaster in 2013. They finished the season 5-10-1, with Christian Ponder starting 9 games, Castle starting 6 games, and the Vikings even picked up Josh Freeman to start Week 7. The Vikings were awful this year, but Castle actually started in 3 and played the majority of the game in 4 of their 5 wins. In the 2014 season, Castle started the first 3 games, but got a foot injury against the Saints in Week 3 that ended his season. Then on March 10, 2015, the Buffalo Bills traded a 5th and 7th round pick to the Vikings for Castle and a 6th round pick, which ended his journey in Minnesota. Castle's tenure with the Bills was short. He was brought in to compete for the starting job against Bills' first round pick E.J. Manuel and Tyrod Taylor, but lost the competition to Taylor. Following an injury to starting quarterback Tony Romo, the Cowboys traded a 5th round pick, which was later used on the worst quarterback of all time, Nathan Peterman, for Castle and a 7th round pick. Through Week 14 with the Cowboys, Castle was playing pretty poorly, and they had already been eliminated from a playoff hunt. So there wasn't much reason to watch this game between the Jets and Cowboys, other than the fact it was a Saturday night game, which meant it was the only one playing that night. Even the final score is unremarkable, but in this game, something remarkable did happen. In this game, Matt Castle threw the worst pass of all time. So here we are, midway through the first quarter, and it's 2nd and 17 with the ball in the 50. Alright, let's take the snap and see what happens. Alright, so not even 2 seconds into the play and quite a few things have happened. Cole Beasley is out wide on a screen pass. The linemen are moving over to block for him as well. The thing is, Buster Skrine is about to bust this screen, and Castle knows it. He needs to find someone else to get the ball to. Alright, resume. In this moment, Castle tripped, which now adds another layer into trying to salvage this play. Alright, now he's got Leonard Williams diving for him. He needs to try and throw the ball out of bounds and hope it doesn't get called for intentional grounding. But instead of that, something absolutely incredible happens.
Lost his balance, and then just throws it right to Rivas. Flags are out.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 14. That penalty is also declined. Result of play.
Matt Castle just threw the first ever interception that was called for intentional grounding. That is incredible, and he will always be the first one to do that. The last couple seasons of Matt Castle's career have been largely uneventful. Castle signed with the Titans after the 2015 season, and over the 2016 and 2017 season, started twice in relief of an injured Marcus Mariota. After that season, he signed with the Lions as a backup to Matthew Stafford, and has only played in garbage time this season. And that's where our story ends. Matt Castle's career has been largely forgettable, but his path and story of how he got here are more interesting than most. Special thanks to Jordan for doing the voice of Pete Carroll, I really appreciate it. And thank you, most of all, for watching. Bye!
Help me ease the pain that I live through.